Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 31 of the Hot Path Show. That's right, we're on 31. We're one more away from episode 2 to the 5th, the next Power 2 episode that we've been eagerly anticipating for a long time. But, anyways, I'm Johnny, and I'm joined here by Tobias. Welcome in, Tobias. How's it going today?
It's going good. It's going good. How about yourself?
I am just fantastic. Excited to be here. I see we already have Danny in the chats and some other people in, so welcome in everybody. So yeah, you're going to be taking us through an interesting little topic here today. So why don't you just give a quick little introduction about what you have planned for us today?
Yeah, so some people are sometimes not realizing that the packages, dots, all of dots parts included, are source code on your map on your computer, and with some trickery, you can explore the source code and you can make all the modifications you want to it if you have some special requirements. So I'm going to show how I do that specific thing, and then a few examples of how I used it previously, and maybe we can come up with a few extra examples of and explore like what the type of thing you actually want to do when you modify the source code of the entities package, for example. So yeah, we'll see. It's going to be a little bit all over the place, and not all, but a lot of sporadic things, but all of it's going to be like, how do we utilize the source code of that Unity has so graciously given us access to.
Right. Yeah, totally. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this one. I know there's definitely been a bunch of times during development where I've just been going through and it's like, oh, it would be nice if there was, this little change or this little small little option. It's, something that I'm certainly capable of doing, but I've never like, gone through the process of like, actually modifying the source code and then telling the project to like, actually look at, this new modified package that I've created and all that stuff. And yeah, actually had a little bit of an idea of something that I could do that came up on, I believe, the last show that I did with Danny. So we can maybe talk about, that particular idea when we get to this topic a little bit later on. But yeah, so before we kind of get into things, we have a couple little topics of discussion here. So we can kind of start here with our prefetch, which is our warm-up topic here today. And I feel like, Tobias, this is going to be something that you have a strong opinion on. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say on this. But are we living in a simulation?
Of course we are. There's no other possible explanation. Okay, but okay, yeah, okay, yes, it's good warm up topic.
Okay, so is that your
Oh, are
answer?
we talking about it right now? Yeah. Um, there's those two arguments that people usually go after, like, oh, statistically speaking, because the universe is so old, you probably there's more likely that you end up in a simulation driven possibly by a simulation. By a simulation is just infinite turtles all the way down, and there's a base level reality 2 billion years ago or something. And the other one is like, oh yeah, you can go down to the quantum level, and then you have the Planck length, which is a discrete length. That is if you have shorter distance than the Planck length, um, the whole physics breaks down. It's just like divide by zero, basically, and that means like, yeah, the universe is discretized. How do you say that word?
I
Uh,
don't know what you're trying
is
to.
is is discrete, not
Okay,
continuous, and you can, because ones and zeros are discrete, right? and
sure.
and
Yeah.
and yeah, and if you can, yeah, so you have you have single particle photons, and you have this discrete length of Planck, and when you go down to it, nothing is continuous. Everything is like discrete parts, and like maybe it's zeros and ones in the bottom. So those are the two arguments that I've heard, and both of them is like, well, like, if we were in the other, yeah, I'm not convinced. That's the short of it. I'm not convinced by those two arguments, but they are very compelling. The statistic one, like, it just annoys me because I don't know how to think about it.
Right.
It's
It's
like,
kind of almost that argument like, you can't prove that something is real by saying that it's not real.
Yeah, some unfalsifiableness to it, that is, or like, if you have a, if you say a number sequence is an infinite sequence is random, you can never prove that is random, because if you run it long enough, maybe you find the pattern. Or the
Right,
other
right,
way around, if you have something that's not random, you can never prove that it's not random, because you
right.
might
It's not
just
a
end up.
definitive proof, but it's just not evidence to the contrary, basically.
Yeah, and when it comes to like that kind of a unfalsifiableness to the whole concept of existence in the universe, it's like, just like, "Ugh, I don't like it." I don't know how to think about it. And the Planck length thing, I think, or like every, maybe the whole world is in discrete bits, and that therefore it can be zeros and ones and simulated and so on. I think is like, well, I don't really know how it would be like. It feels like it can still be, a physical world and still have discrete parts to it. It's like, it doesn't make sense to me that it has to be digital just because there are discrete components in the universe that makes up the universe.
Right,
So
right.
both of them, but otherwise, like, and also, blah 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 happens in the political sphere or whatever, and like, we have to be living in a simulation. This is so stupid.
Right,
Like, that
right.
one is yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
So I'm pretty convinced that we're not living in a simulation.
Ooh.
And I'm gonna take this from a little bit of a different angle. And I think another thing that you see people bring up for like simulation theory is kind of like the evolution of, video games, virtual reality, these virtual worlds and everything like this. And of course, us on the Hot Pass show, we're very familiar with these types of things. And especially with like video games nowadays, a lot of the stuff in them, like, yeah, we can do a lot of complex simulation and all this, but we still end up having to like fake a lot of things. And what I see in the physical world is, I truly believe that every, like, down to the every single atom is like, simulating. Cells are simulating on a biological level, and that's, causing all this stuff to happen within our world. Like, I don't see any evidence that any of that is like being faked. Like, it doesn't seem like there's any kind of like trickery going on. And basically what I've kind of heard, like, I haven't done the math of this myself, but like, if you really wanted to, simulate every single molecule and atom and everything like that in, like, just our world, forget like, the rest of, the entire galaxy and universe and everything like that, like, just our Earth, like, to simulate all that perfectly one to one, following these exact rules without ever failing, you would basically need the amount of energy that is like being emitted from the entire sun. And if there was a civilization that could get to the point where you could harvest the entire energy from the sun, why would you make a computer to simulate, like you say, the dumb political realities that we're experiencing today? You kind of follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I've heard that that argument also. Like, it's just a crazy amount of compute for something that's, you know, leisure for some random
Right.
randos who happen to be living, and then thrown into the simulation by whoever decides that we don't have a choice in the matter, and we're put the, and we, I don't know. Do you? Yeah, I don't know. But I think, uh, reasoning aside, I think the technical thing can be sort of jimmied a little bit in the right direction by, like, well, it depends on where in the flow between, like, simulating all intricate physical phenomenon to the last detail, all the way to, like, just putting like a probe into your brain and just shoving already computed shit into your eyeballs. Do you see what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's somewhere in between there where you maybe, like the actual movie The Matrix, they have, just something shoved in here. Like,
Right.
yeah, sure, you can, um they maybe, see something, and something is weird and like, oh, this doesn't make sense. A lot doesn't load in time or whatever, you know. um but if you are like hooked up like that, and you can, learn kung fu with a diskette floppy disk, you probably have the ability to just like freeze frame your brain and back it up 2 seconds, and then resimulate and fix the loading, and the person experiencing this never realized there was anything wrong because you just snapped that out of their memory. Like, I don't know, it just feels like at that point when we are doing that advanced type of technology, I feel like we are probably using all the tricks in the book, uh, to some degree. Well, that's
Yeah,
just an
yeah, yeah,
argument
yeah.
against it, but I see your point. It's like, it's just crazy to think about. There's such a leap between, oh, our graphics are getting better, to simulating the whole world. Like, it's
Right,
so
right.
far.
Yeah, and because like I'm sure that you've probably experienced this where you were like, have like visited a place and then like several years later, then you come back and visit the place, and then like everything is still the same except you kind of see that like weathering of
Yeah.
that place that's all completely natural and everything like that, and like maybe even if you had like a picture in your mind of what that place looked like, but then you go back and it's different than the picture in your mind, but then when you see it you're like, oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that is actually how it was, and everything. So like, yeah, I don't know, there's some interesting stuff there, I guess.
Yeah, I think this is, mathematically and philosophically complex, and maybe super esoteric to some people. But I find it fascinating to think about the difference between a numerical calculation versus I don't non-numerical. Like cellular automata is like a numerical progressive simulation, which you cannot skip ahead. You have to simulate all the steps because there's no formula to understand what's going to happen in 100 steps, right? And you have like, if you have a in the forest, nobody's in the forest, and this is a simulation then, though. And then you like go there and you look at everything, and then you go away and you stay away for 10 years, and then you go back again. Does that mean that like you have to have a system always simulating this progressive numerical simulation of weathering in the forest when nobody's watching? Or do you have like a non-numerical thing where you can just jump ahead 10 years
Right,
and
yeah,
everything?
exactly, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, like, yeah, because I'm fascinating that we have things like the simple game of life, cellular automata thing situation, where you cannot predict where it's going. You have to take the steps. There, oh well, we haven't figured out anyway any
Yeah,
formula to,
exactly.
yeah, and
Right.
and
And there's like, something like I don't know, like a car crashed into this building, like, 5 years in the middle of your like 10 years of being gone. Like, how does it, account for all that? Like,
yes,
you can't
yes,
just, yeah.
yes, but in that case, if a car crash, there's probably an observer, another simulated agent, or another sentient being, or whatever you are. Maybe they are observing through the car, and gets to simulate that part with the full richness of that thing. But if nobody is there, do they save the calculations and not simulate all the parts? It's like a little bit like,
Right.
yeah. Do you simulate all NPCs in the world of a video game? No, you don't. It's stupid. You don't have can't afford that, right? It's a similar thing here, where you have vast amounts of space where nobody is. Well, how do you deal with that? How do you
Right.
have the compute to deal with
Yeah.
that?
No, and that's what I'm saying is like, I truly believe that, if we are in a simulation, everything is actually being simulated in real time.
Yes,
And
that's
the amount of compute that it would
w-
be
th-
required for that is insane.
I think what you said about like then you need like a whole star, or the that sphere that's
Like a
um
Dyson sphere, yeah.
device. I don't remember where I heard this or something, but I don't think that's even in the in there's several magnitudes more, I think. I think there's like a thing where you cannot do it. I guess if you like just take the Earth and like, oh well, if somebody goes to the moon, I guess we're gonna have to load a DLC or something. But just the Earth is fully simulated, and maybe like whatever the satellite discover or whatever. Maybe you can take the rest of the universe energy to simulate Earth. Maybe, but like it's such a crazy amount of energy to do simulation of everything's going on Earth. And yeah, I think that's a sort of nail in the coffin, and not the nail in the coffin, but that's a very, very strong evidence for that is not a simulation. And also, I think several people among Elon Musk has always talking about these kind of things. He has said like, oh, if you assume any rate of progress of compute, but I think it's like, well, our compute is going exponentially, doubling every whatever it is. But it feels like what we can do with that compute is like asymptotically approaching some.
Leveling off, yeah.
Yes, I have a hard time seeing us. I mean, you can take a look at a super well made game from 2014 and compare it to today, 10 years later, and there's several AAA games which is 10-year old now, and you can find scenes where like, yeah, this could be released as sort of a AAA game 2024 also. It hasn't happened that much the past 10 years. So I don't think we're in a
Right.
simulation. I think
Yeah,
it's
and I mean, of course, there's always the possibility where there's some, insane breakthrough of computing, which is like, doing something that we can't even conceive of right now that like makes, that level of simulation possible, or, maybe there's some biological computers, but you know what another name for biological computers are? Real life.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, let's analogly whatever that word is, digitally but analogly. Let's do an analog based simulation of Earth. Oh well, there maybe is Earth then, I guess.
Although I will say that the one thing that makes me want to live in a simulation is whenever my time in the simulation comes to an end, that I'll just have like a massive stat sheet of like all the stuff in my life. Like, oh,
Oh
here's
yeah.
how many gallons of water you drank. Here's how many lines of code you wrote. Like,
This is how many boomers you shot.
exactly.
Yes. I'm just gonna. That's why it takes so long to get to the moon. It's loading. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Also, how to
How
unlock
to
New Life
life
Plus.
plus. Yes, I think there's a some meme that's like somebody eating salad and a Twitter icon and a cross over it and a good night's of sleep, and then it's like a fourth thing, and then like why am I why is my life so good starter pack. Like, I think that's the life plus. You just gotta treat yourself well, and then it's gonna go far.
Isn't that the truth?
Yes.
Also, compute is going burr, software is going meh. Isn't that right,
Yeah.
Danny? Get back to work.
No, honestly, like, yeah, it's slight side tangent here, but like, I've been working on several different projects for the last 2 years, and one of those that we were together on, but
Yep.
several others where it's like I've come into different code bases, and uh, you have like an idea sometimes that like, oh, but those people over there, at name X established good software company, they write good code, and that's the code that runs my computer, and it's good, and then you look at it and you're like, oh my god, software is getting so slow. It's crazy. And I've seen I've gotten access to a few source codes for stuff, and it's like, really? It's not more? This is it? This is okay. All right. Yeah. I guess that's why it takes 10 seconds to load a new file in Photoshop, as Jonathan Blows points out.
Yeah. Yeah, when you after you install Photoshop and it steals it as the default application, and you just
Yeah,
click on any random JPEG that you just want to preview real quick, and yeah.
yeah. Then I have to ask you something about that. Jonathan Blow has this thing that really blew my mind, and I'm not sure I'm agreeing with it, but it blows my mind. He said, like, given that you can reasonably expect that your software will be run on quite a few computers or whatever hardware, I don't know what the number is, but significant, tens of thousands. Is it ethical to write bad code? You're wasting a lot of resources by
Right.
writing code.
Yeah, because
Like,
it's like, yeah, I think his argument was, basically if you waste, 7 seconds for one person, but then that's being ran 10,000 times, you've wasted however many man
yes,
hours.
and like the word ethical didn't cross my mind until he said it, and I'm like, I don't know. You can draw it all the way to climate change if you want. Like, that's resources consumed for no reason, for no
100%.
other reason than somebody didn't bother enough to write a better algorithm for it that might be 100 times faster.
Yeah, it is definitely an interesting thing to consider. It's
Yes.
not just the convenience of something loading quick for having a nice user experience for one person, but what's the cost of all that time wasted across at scale?
Yeah, exactly. It's I don't know. It's like I said, I'm
Because
not
I
sure.
mean, I mean, yeah, it's like interesting to think that yeah, you multiply that out and it's like so many man hours when you have this big number, but then again, 7 seconds per day per person, does that really affect that person's day that much? I guess would kind of be like the counterpoint to that.
Yeah, but then also you can I think I probably can't come up with a good example, but it feels like there's a few things you can do that generally considered to be asshole move, and then like not ethical, and it probably doesn't make that much of a difference to anybody. It's just somebody being an asshole, and like, well, that's unethical or something like that. I don't know, maybe that's a too grand of a word, but there's still small things in life that we view as this is a bad thing to do, like don't do that, but it really doesn't affect much. But writing bad code that takes a few minutes away from 10,000 people a day, like that's also that falls in the same range, I think. It's like kind of an asshole thing to do.
No, I completely agree. I'm definitely not advocating for, if there is a couple seconds slowdown here and there to just leave it in. I definitely think that stuff should be optimized away. But yeah, just kind of,
But yeah, I think it's also you can't expect people to be just gods of programming and make it perfect. So I guess it's like it is what it is.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Well, cool. That was a fun little warm up topic.
I just want to write what ETR wrote here.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You
Right.
can, there you go.
A simulation has to be less complex than where it runs slower or smaller, or no matter how fast it can. Yeah, I guess slower is also kind of a reasonable thing. Yeah, I heard. I don't know. I think it's a book by a Swedish guy called Life 3.0, which is basically life beyond AI, like what's gonna happen when we have crazy AI. And he argued like, oh yeah, in the future we're gonna have like uh, the whole everything is going to be just about compute, and as the universe reduces in power many billions of years from now, and we have less and less stars that are shining, and all, like whatever it is, humanity or AI is going to just do what it does, entertain itself with compute somehow, and it's going to go slower and slower and slower and slower, and in the end everything is going to be in ultra slow motion because we don't have energy to make it go fast anymore, and then we're just going to die in a whimper, or not in a whimper, but like, yeah, I guess slowness is something that could solve the problem that you proposed.
Or maybe even this world has been simulated for billions and billions of years, and we're just seeing a nice, smooth replay of it.
Yeah. Well, that throws a big wrench into free will, huh? Then it's like, well, that's out of the window. Damn, this discussion is going crazy now.
I know. We got
Bad.
from Danny here. In my opinion, bad performance code is not ethical, and the only reason we as an industry do it, in my opinion, is that the industry is trying to have 9 people make a baby in a month.
Yes. Well. Yeah. Exactly. That's
That's
it.
an interesting analogy. I like it.
Yes. I like to say make a baby, not like,
No, I mean it's that
configure
literally
it.
is just kind of the classic example of, throwing more money and people at the problem when really what it needs is time.
Yeah. Isn't it like somebody said what a good programmer can do in 2 months? 2 good programmers can do in 2 months. So the more people you throw at it, the less fast it goes. And yeah, I think there's something to it. And I think it was like, and also there was this was a meme, and it was a picture of an old man. It said, and then it was like a dot, like the quote was from this person on the picture. It's like John, 29 years old, and it looked like he was 80 because his age is so fast from having to yeah. Anyway, I'm not trying to.
That's a classic. That's like a classic jujitsu meme. It's like it's like
Oh, really?
10 years of doing jujitsu, and it's like that like super old dude or whatever. Yeah.
Is it because like you're getting wiser, or is it so
No, it's
taxing
just
on your body?
very hard on the body.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you look young, and you're just a few years younger than me, I think, and you do jiu-jitsu, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it happened.
Got
Yeah.
the Thompson wrestling shirt on.
Oh, is that a?
It's from a movie. It's a movie from like the 70s called Vision Quest.
Okay.
It's funny
Well,
because the school is Thompson High School, and it's like about the wrestling team there. And of
So
course my
you-
last name is Thompson, so
yes.
Thompson
Yes.
Wrestling.
Are you connected to the inventor of the Thompson gun?
No.
I'm just kidding. That's the only thing I know about Thompson. It's like there's a gun named that, and you're the first
Tommy
person.
gun.
Yeah, Tom. Oh yeah, Tommy gun is the yeah. Never mind. I'm going all.
Well, no,
right
it is
here.
the Thompson weapon, but it's the Tommy
Oh,
gun is kind of the nickname for one of their,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm just gonna have a quick read here if there was any fun engine. What should we call it to run? I mean, the sim.
Unity 6.
Yeah.
Unity 6000.
Oh wow. Yes.
Could you
yes.
imagine?
Well, I think 9001 or something would be a better.
Yeah.
Over 9000. That's a joke is still living, I guess. It could be a fake complexity by only showing more complex power from this. Yeah, but that was maybe this Mark dude wasn't in the beginning, but then you have the whole thing about how do you weather the stuff in the forest when nobody's watching it, and when you arrive there, do
Right.
you
It's
catch
like what
up?
if there is like a, crazy, like abdominally crazy storm or something, or some hurricane comes through, or I don't know.
Yeah. Then you have to simulate all of those particles.
Yeah.
And that's even if no human is there to watch. Yeah. Windows 8. Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah.
Sweet. Sounds good to me. We can go ahead and move on. Just got a couple miscellaneous announcements here that I want to share with y'all. So I do just want to remind you all that the Unity Asset Store, their summer sale is still going on right now. I think it's going to be just until Wednesday of next week. So you have a couple more days where I basically did a video kind of like showing how to create it was kind of like an overview about how to create a city builder game using a bunch of things off the Unity Asset Store. And I picked out a bunch of assets, and pretty much all of them are still on sale except for the Agents Navigation Crowds one. But other than that, they are all still on sale. And by the way, asset created by Tobias, fake interiors. which
Woohoo!
is available for 50% off right now. And
Yes.
yeah, so just kind of a lot of good stuff. Actually, do you want to give a real quick overview about what fake interior is?
Fake interior is math magic to make it look like there's an interior, but there's nothing inside. It's just 5 pictures or less, actually, if you want, that is parallaxed, warped with math in the shader to make it look like it. So easy way to make it intuitive. You cannot place anything 3D inside of it. That's one of the limitations of it. But if you have a racing game and you're going through a city, this is super good way of doing it. And this is basically how they do it in the big AAA studios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is exactly, kind of what we're talking a little bit about, some of the ways that we can kind of fake things in video games. You
Yes.
just have like one, just like a single cube mesh, really, and then you're just kind of applying this visual shader onto it to give the illusion that there's, actual rooms inside there.
Yeah. It's actually not a cube map, by the way. It's that
Well,
was.
I mean, sorry, I should say like the mesh that it's being projected on is
Oh
just a
yeah, yeah,
cube,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
the actual building.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I was gonna say something about it. Oh yeah, I got an email from somebody asking me. Sometimes you get emails from beginners who ask about this and ask a question. Then you have to like explain to them like this is not a. You may not understanding what the asset does. This question doesn't make sense. That's a little bit awkward thing. But I got the one that I was like, wow. He asked, or she, I guess also. Does this shader work in 2D? I'm like, huh? I don't. I guess it could be in 2.5D.
Right. Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then it's like, and obviously, if you're a beginner to Unity, then it's maybe not intuitive that you're like, well, 2.5D is still 3D, so it's gonna be a 3D object. But if it's actually 2D and you're looking at this, then I'm like, yeah, I just said you should look into parallax, just simple parallax. Google on YouTube, and there will be very
Just
nice
yeah.
free tutorials
You
for
go
you.
this way, move it that way. Yeah.
You don't have to buy my asset for that. But yeah,
Yeah, Danny says this technique is such a Spider-Man classic. And actually, I
yes,
think in the one of the newer Spider-Man games, they actually use like a proper like ray tracer. It's like a little bit more
yeah, they
complex. You
have
can
a
actually have
very.
like people kind of walking around inside these kind of fake rooms, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they are projecting a few quads in a way that you can make basic shapes into it. But the more you put in shapes and features into the interior, the more you're like recreating halfway of a 3D engine inside of a shader instead. So
Right,
it's like
right.
it's a little bit give and take. But in this one, for example, I can put in like a share into it, but it will just be a infinitely thin plate. So it's just to make a little bit of a more parallax effect. If you go close to it, the effect is immediately broken.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, you should there's a picture like fifth picture or something on the asset. Maybe continue. Next one. There. That was I'm very proud of that one.
This is kind of like
That's a normal
like
map.
shattered glass.
Yes, that's a normal map. So it both redirects the rays that samples. So it like picks, so you get the refraction, and it's redirects the glossiness because the window has some complete reflective properties of it. So then you get to reflect it in a different direction. And yeah, there was somebody asking about that, and I was like, this sounds really complicated to add. Maybe I should try to add it because it's fun. And then I'm like, added 2 nodes, and it just popped because it was just perfectly set up to just put in a normal map in between 2 nodes, and then everything was done. But that's
Yeah. No, it looks
yeah,
good. I like it.
yeah.
So yeah, check out Fake Interior as well as all the other assets on sale. I should have a link in the description to my kind of like page here where it has all the assets that I've selected. And of course, check out the video that I created on my YouTube channel. And also, speaking of videos and the Unity Asset Store and all of this, I actually was recently part of a video through Unity, and we did a video for the Unity Asset Store with a couple recognizable faces here. So there was Thomas, who's from Unity. He was kind of hosting it. Of course, I have Jason Wyman, Brandon from Sasquatch Bee Studios, and myself. Basically, the idea with this is each of us creators here, the three of us here, we each picked three assets that we really like, and we just kind of like talked about them a little bit more in depth, and just kind of chatted about why we use these in different projects. And yeah, I think it was a really fun discussion overall. Ends up being about an hour-long video. But yeah, check it out. It's up on Unity's YouTube channel right now, and it sounds like they want to put it up on the actual asset store at some point too. So yeah, go ahead and check that out. And actually, I'll just go ahead and drop the link in chat if people want to check it out. So there was that, which was a ton of fun. Also, do just want to remind you all that Unity's Unite conference is coming up in, just like 2 weeks away now. Are we pretty much? Because it's.
Oh, I have so much stuff going on.
Yeah, man. Because next week is the first week of September, and then we have the second week, and then it'll be the third week of September is when that's all going down. So it's September 18th to the 20th is when Unite's happening. And of course, I'm going to be there. Tobias is going to be there. Danny's going to be there. We got the whole Hot Path Show gang in full force. And yeah, excited to see everyone who's also going to be there. Unite is always a very good time. So yeah, of course, looking forward to that. Don't forget that Danny is going to be giving a talk, just kind of like a good introduction into dots, and they're going to be showing some kind of sample projects and some good practical examples. So I'm very much looking forward to that one. And yeah, we'll keep you posted if there's any other interesting happenings going on during that week. So yeah, how you feeling about Unite coming up in just a couple weeks here?
Yeah,
2.5 weeks away.
I'm excited about it for sure, but I just came from a trip for 2 weeks and a lot of traveling back and forth, and now my consulting thing. I'm deep down into a lot of things to do, and I'm moving my apartment. I have my apartment for September out,
Okay.
and I basically have basically a fully furnished apartment that I gotta throw out because there's like everything is already pretty much moved here, and there's still a
All the
container
important
back
stuff.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all of those I gotta deal with, and then I'm gonna I gotta go to Barcelona and have some and enjoy that with a slight, hopefully, peace of mind. But no, it's gonna be all good.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I haven't actually looked into. I know we've got emails for details for booking, but I haven't looked at it. Have you?
For like the sessions and stuff, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten the emails as well, but yeah, I haven't had a chance to actually schedule them. And Danny, I'm not sure, are you talking about your talk about if there's still some seats available? Because I sure hope there are, because I would be very upset if Danny's talk got sold out and I wasn't able to make it in for that one. So
If
yeah,
that's
I
the
probably
case,
I probably should do that sooner than later.
yeah. If you get a schedule to be part of a specific talk, then I guess we gotta both go and schedule ourselves for Danny after this.
Exactly, yeah.
Indeed, am what?
Indeed, you are talking about what? Probably his talk.
All right, so we gotta schedule that, I guess.
And yeah, also I do want to call out that the Unite keynote is going to be live from Barcelona. Looks like it's 1 a.m. my time, except I'm going to be there in person, so it'll be nice and early. So yeah, there's the link if you want to watch the keynote live if you aren't able to make it to Barcelona in person.
Those are actually the most, which is kind of ironic. That's broadcasted, but those are probably the most interesting often for me because you get to see the new cool stuff that everybody that nobody has been able to talk about so far.
Right, right, right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay. So yeah, we got a schedule. It seems like by Danny. I thought it was just a walk into a, a conference room, but I
Yeah,
guess
well,
there's.
I think it's more to kind of like gauge, like that's kind of how it was last time. Like you could kind of add things to your schedule, and I think it was to mostly like gauge interest to like figure out how many seats they needed because like some rooms are a little bigger than others, and
Ah,
yeah, you still kind of end up having to like wait in line a little bit ahead of time. Or that's at least how it was last year. So we'll see
yeah.
if it ends up being a little
I'm gonna
different.
have to. I'm gonna be sure to schedule that when we are done.
Yeah,
Might
yeah,
as well.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyways, speaking of game conferences, JetBrains is hosting a little Game Dev Day, October 9th to the 10th, so a little bit after Unite. And this is kind of more general game development stuff. So there's some Unity stuff, Unreal stuff, Godot stuff, and then yeah, we can see kind of what the agenda is looking like. I think there's like some in-person stuff happening on Wednesday, it looks like, but Thursday there's going to be some online talks. And if we scroll down a little bit here, oh, who's this? Oh,
Ooh.
so yeah,
You're
gonna be doing a little talk on dots here. I called it "Why Dots is Unity's Silver Bullet." So it's gonna be an hour-long talk. So we have a good amount of information to talk about. Probably just gonna be like more or less a general overview about dots. And just kind of like how it solves problems in game development, and I just kind of want to talk about where it's at right now and where it can be going, and why I think people might want to be interested in it, because again, considering that the audience of this is a more general game dev audience rather than Unity specific or kind of more dots or oriented stuff like that. And yeah, we can see all the speakers here, and there we go. Get a little headshot there.
Can you
And
scroll up a little bit?
where?
All the way up. Okay, it looked like there was a person I knew, but no, never mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, check out Unity's JetBrains Game Dev Day. Completely free to sign up for, and I think last year they were even broadcasting it maybe on their YouTube channel. So yeah, check it out. Okay. Goodness.
Oh, your throat all right?
Yeah. No, it's just got a little raspy just out of nowhere, but it'll be good in a second. Yeah, then just want to remind you all that, of course, if you do wish, you can support us over on Patreon as well as through YouTube memberships, and we have some fun bonuses there for the people who do support us. So I did actually just put up a video the other day for all supporters at any support level, basically just kind of talking about my thoughts on virtual reality, because I think there's definitely some interesting stuff there, and just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about where I think the VR industry is and where it could be going. So, go ahead and check that out if you wish. And then also have a Q&A, a monthly Q&A that we do for the supporters at the L2 cash tier and up. And so I posted a request for questions last week, and we've already got a couple of responses, but I haven't actually recorded the Q&A yet. So if you are at that support tier, feel free to submit any questions. I put up a post on Patreon and on YouTube memberships as well. So you can either just comment on that post, or there's also a link where you can kind of submit an anonymous question if you wish. And then also for the behind the scenes episode this month for the L1 cash supporters and up, I'm going to be doing a little behind the scenes about an interesting upcoming project that I'm working on, and just kind of want to talk a little bit about kind of my plan for that project there. So actually, in speaking of that project, for the cash hit, the Unity Dots quick tip of the week, which we can get into now, I'm going to be showing off just a little sneak preview of kind of what this project is, because I think I kind of already showed it a little bit last week or the week previous. So go ahead and pull this up here. So this is actually a little kind of survivors type project here that I've kind of been experimenting around a little bit with. And then, so actually I need to change one thing real quick on this player. We can do this and this and this and this. Hope this works here. So yeah, anyways, the quick tip of the week, I just kind of wanted to talk about this interesting solution that I've done. It's not going to be working here. What I'll do is I'll just put a couple little experience points out in the world that I can pick up. Actually, I should test this out beforehand, but we can do, say that, and then we'll get some experience points out in the world. But yeah, basically kind of what happens in these survivors type games is you can kind of go around and then we can pick up these experience points here. Why can I do that? They're too
Demo,
high.
the demo
too high.
first.
Okay. So yeah, we can pick up these experience points. Nope, still can't pick up the experience points. Oh, I'm not even sharing anyways.
Yeah, I was like, I was waiting for.
Why is, oh, I know why, because they're not part of the sub scene. That would help.
There was some setup. I see.
Yeah. Okay. So anyways, here we are here. I'll go ahead and do this. So yeah, here's kind of the little game here, and you can see we have these enemies who are kind of following us around. We have these experience points, and then when we pick up enough experience points, we level up. And of course, we want the game to kind of pause here, so then we can choose our the upgrade that we want, and then the game continues. And of course, we don't want the enemies following us and attacking us during that kind of paused state. So this is actually a kind of simple solution that I came up with in a game jam. And so yeah, real quickly, I'm just going to show you how I implemented this little pause. Basically what you do is you get the simulation system group. So basically the entire system group that's running all your kind of main systems in your game. I just do this. This is just in the level UI mono behavior for now. So I do a world.default game object injection world to get a reference to the default world. And then we can do a get existing systems managed. And then we can actually get a reference to the simulation system group. And then once we have that, we can just set the enabled property on it to false. And that basically just means that none of the systems in the simulation system group are going to be updating. So any of our custom systems, as well as Unity's kind of built-in transform systems, and also all the physics stuff is running under the simulation system group. So all that stuff basically just gets paused when it's in that disabled state. And then when we want to re-enable it, we just get another reference to that simulation system group and then re-enable the enabled property there. So kind of a simple little solution, but seems to work pretty well for just kind of doing a simple kind of pause setup. We can wait for a couple more enemies to spawn in so we can see that we got all these guys moving around, and then yeah, of course it's paused. I mean, it's kind of behind the level up UI, but we can see that basically everything in here, they're all just kind of frozen in time here. So yeah, what do you think of the simple little pause solution?
I think it's probably this. I don't remember. I think it's more or less the same that I do. I can't remember if I pull UI pause. So I think it's the way to do it. No, actually, I do timescale, but I think this is better than timescale. If you can do it like that. Sometimes the setup of your systems are a little bit too spread out and Wild West to easily pull everything that actually needs to be paused and then have other things maybe not paused, like the presentation system group or something,
right,
to render
right.
And obviously that's a clean separation between those, but sometimes I guess it's a little bit annoying to try to get everything that you need to pause, because um, uh, if you pause one system and maybe another system is dependent on that, or the other way around, and then you have some update loop that doesn't get completed properly because there's another system that's supposed to pick up the slack from whatever that one is producing, and then you have a memory leak of a big list that's just increasing just because you pause the system. I don't think that's obviously that's likely. So I think that's the better way, but that's one of the things that I can see that might be tricky when you pause systems or system groups. But otherwise, yeah, I would do it the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I think there seems to maybe be a little bit of weird things with the physics system. Like I've noticed that when I unpause like the first frame, like if there was kind of some collisions between say the different enemies, they kind of like break apart like very abruptly when you first like unpause. And I'm not sure if that was just has something to do with like something with like the delta time or something just being like a different abnormal value for like that one first frame or something like that. I'm not entirely sure what exactly. um,
That could actually be the exact same thing. The problem I had to solve. Perfect call. What's the reverse of callback? Foreshadowing. Perfect
Foreshadowing, yes.
foreshadowing of a problem that I had to solve uh, in just with instructions with the pause, because I had while you're loading the procedural level, I disable the whole physics engine, and when I then enable it again, but I do that, yeah, when I enable it again, because it is inside of the fixed system update group, it has to fast forward through all missed frames all the way through.
Mm,
Maybe something like that. When you're pausing it, it just speeds away, and then it just takes uh, to catch up at every
yeah,
single frame
so
that you
ITR
missed.
says there's a catch-up rate manager on the fixed simulation group, which also can have some strange behavior if you don't pay attention to it. So that
I
very well could be have something to do with what I'm seeing.
Ooh, then I can show my piece of the code that I made to fix that, because I think that strange behavior is just a catch up thing that you should be able to, explicitly say, like, oh, we paused for 5 seconds. You don't need to catch up. We just push the time counter forward, teleported the time counter forward, sort of.
Right, 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 right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of my little dots quick tip of the week here. By the way, the Patreon link should be down in the description, but it's just patreon.com/turbomakesgames. So yeah, and then with that, we can kind of get into our next little topic of discussion here, which we like to call the context switch. So for this one, I actually have a little bit of a video from somebody who you all will very likely recognize. This, of course, is from CodeMonkey. So CodeMonkey, he has been working on a dots course, and he's kind of been like progressively adding to it. So it's available as like a paid course right now, but I think he said that he plans to have parts of it available for free once it's been completed. But I wanted to showcase this little video here because he came up with a little bit of an interesting animation solution. So I'm going to play this video, and we can just kind of like talk a little bit about this solution and what he ended up doing with it here.
Hello and welcome, I'm your CodeMonkey, and
You can hear that, by the way, right?
Yes.
I just have it
very
at
fast.
2 times the speed.
Very fast.
I've just published an update to my Unity Dots course. This one adds 15 new lectures, adding some bonus stuff on targeting and learning some more about the job system, and also importantly on building a custom dots animation system from scratch. This was really interesting to research and build. Animation is one of the things that is currently really tricky right now to do in Dots. That's because there's no built-in toolset just yet, so you have to either use an asset or build yourself from scratch. Now in the course, since I provide the project files for every lecture in the course, because of that I couldn't use any third-party assets, so we end up building it from scratch. It's a nice, simple animation system. It's based on essentially using sprite sheet animation, except using meshes. So I just took some normal animations, I made a script to bake different parts of the animation into individual meshes, and then through code we just changed the mesh to create the nice illusion of some nice animations. Now importantly, of course, is making all of that work with dots, which is quite tricky because dots only works with value types, so we cannot have objects, no references, and meshes are objects, so actually storing that data was quite tricky. And then also, there are a ton of meshes for each animation. So once again, storing all of that data was also really tricky. That took quite a while to research, but I'm very happy with the final result. In the lectures, we're going to learn about how to use blob assets. This is a feature from Dots that allows you to have access to immutable data in a super fast manner, and it also allows you to have special blob arrays. So in the end, we end up creating kind of like a dictionary, where we have an array of arrays. So the first array has the index for the animation type, and then it has an array for all the meshes that make up that single animation. Again, building all this was pretty complex. It took me quite a while to research how to build all of this and how to make it all work. It has a lot of steps that need to be followed exactly. So hopefully these lectures over here, all of these will help you learn how to use blob assets and blob arrays, and help you learn that much faster than it took me. There are also new lectures on converting.
So yeah, that's kind of the main portion that I wanted to talk about regarding the animation solution. So yeah, it is kind of like a interesting setup of what he ended up doing. You know, like he was saying, he did kind of like a sprite sheet animation where he was essentially taking snapshots of these different meshes at different points in the different types of animations, and then kind of like storing all these meshes in an array of blob assets. And then basically, you know, at runtime, when an animation's playing, you can just kind of go into that blob asset, get the mesh you need, and it essentially applies that mesh to the given entity. So just kind of, yeah, what are your sort of high level thoughts on this solution? And yeah.
I I would say that that's a very convenient thing to have, but it's a I think it's either for practice to understand dots, or if you have like a crowd simulation, or because it's a fairly limited type of animation, I guess. You gotta do.
Yeah, I mean, even what he was showing right there, I think the walk cycles were only, you know, like 4 frames of animation essentially, because again, they're, you know,
Yeah.
full complete meshes in each different kind of pose of the walk cycle.
Yeah, in some way, it's very versatile, since it's just a mesh. You can bake whatever you want.
Right,
So,
right, right.
so I think actually, now that I think about it, that's probably the most powerful part about it, that you could use it for, like, some games have baked animation, pre-baked physics behavior. That is, an explosion of like a mesh that splinters into pieces, and everything is just baked into steps. I think this one is, obviously could do that also. So I guess that's very, very versatile in that matter. But actually, since most games need different type of animation, it's still fairly limited, but a very, very nice solution. I'm wondering how we made the swapping of the mesh, since I guess he could use probably mesh data array. I think, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what he's using, but I put a comment on his video, and actually I can just put this up probably on screen right here. So I said, yeah, interesting approach to 3D animations and dots. Would be curious to know how performance scales with many types of units, each with many animation states that they could be in. Lots of random lookups across many blob assets. Sounds like it could be expensive, but still better than nothing. And then he said, I haven't done a stress test, but so far it works great. All the bursted jobs for this run in 0.003 milliseconds, so I think it should scale pretty well, although refactoring it to make it insanely fast should be pretty easy. Just store multiple fields of batch mesh ID directly on each entity. It would be super fast.
Yeah, that is fast. But I guess also, like, since it's just mesh, and his mesh data is, well, I wonder if it's no. Was it just CPU based?
I think it seems to be just CPU based.
How does he swap the mesh so fast? That seems crazy. CPU based.
Yeah,
Unity is kind of slow with swapping CPU, the mesh if you do it through the CPU code.
I mean, we can like look at some of his code here to see if there's anything. Actually, I think this mostly looks like the baking step where he's actually
Yeah,
creating the
I
blob
mean, maybe I'm
assets.
wrong. Maybe there's some way you do this in a very nice manner on the like that. I know there's the burstable non-managed memory API for meshes. I think it's called mesh data and mesh data array, but I don't remember correctly. Um, maybe he uses that, but yeah, I would be fascinated to look at that and see how it does it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would the way I would do that thing would be to bake positions of for vertices into a texture and then read that in a shader. That would be my way of doing that resulting type of a deal. Because then you would free up everything from the CPU. But it's not like I'm like, oh, you should have done that. That's just another way of doing it, which I think is more work
yeah.
and
No,
faster.
I just thought it was interesting because I hadn't necessarily considered doing kind of like that almost sprite sheet based animation type for a 3D project like that. So I just thought it was, an interesting take to do something different and something that you can do in Unity out of the box without, again, having to get any third party assets or, make some shader thing where you're storing out vertex data into a texture and that. So
Yeah, yeah. There's actually, like, when you look at that kind of a snapshot-based animation system, there's a few. In this case, this doesn't apply to his solution, but there's a few very, very fascinating quirks, positive quirks that you can get from that when you do it for performance. If you do baking, if you bake not IDs, you can bake some sort of ID into a texture, and then you scroll through the different pixels to see where you're supposed to be or something. But if you bake the positions continuously into reasonably high resolution textures, you're like, oh, my arm is going to be at this angle because this was a slightly blue pixel here. Then there's you can interpolate between pixels and get smoother motion, because you can, like, if you have the angle for the arm um, baked into the value of a pixel, and then you have the next value of the arm baked into the next pixel. If you do like a bilinear or trilinear filtering between them, so you get the average in between, then you
right.
have the average of the arm, and then you realize that if you just spatially arrange the values of the animation in a pic in a texture in a very nice way, then you can get super smooth animations.
It's kind of like almost storing keyframes essentially, right?
Yeah, you can sort of create keyframes in pixels, but because the GPU is so fast at interpolating between pixels, because you have the filtering modes,
Right.
bilinear and trilinear, then you can get automatic smoothing between the frames, because it's if the value is if there's two keyframes, then you can just take the linear interpolation between them and get a smoother version. So yeah, there's that's like, I think there was no way to do like audiences in sports games going back a few 20 years without doing that type of a thing. They like had 3D animations, and all of them were baked
Right.
textures.
And they were all basically like quads. Like you'd go up to them and they'd just be like the flat, like cardboard
Yes,
looking.
yes. And now you're like throwing AI and like meta human or something at it, and just like, yeah, whatever. Mine 4090 can handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Crazy.
yeah, shout out to Code Monkey. I thought it was a cool and interesting solution, just something a little bit different. And yeah, go check out Code Monkey's Dots course if you are interested in that.
Yeah, one thing he said that I was like, yes, but also maybe not the biggest point. He said like, I put everything into blob assets, which are super fast, and like, well, they aren't really faster. It's just they are perfectly thread safe, so you can access them everywhere. It's just RAM still. You can't access it faster than any other RAM. Or
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I guess it's slightly compressed
It's
since
a
it's aligned very.
oversimplification of the
Yeah,
benefits, I guess. Yeah.
yeah. It might be slightly better cached since it's aligned more compact, aligned in the byte alignment.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. That
so
actually kind of was another thing that I wanted to bring up with you because I know you are a big fan of blob assets and you do use them quite a bit in your own game.
yeah, yeah, that's my I've made my own animation system, which is basically mimics the built-in animation system of Unity, where you can move and make a animation file that moves simple things, and everything is stored in blob assets, all the curves everywhere, and it works great. Blob
Sweet.
assets, except for their stupid syntax, which is super verbose and annoying. They're great.
Well, you mean like creating a whole blob builder and everything like that?
Yeah, and like depending on how you want to structure it, there needs to be a single root to it. So if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
complex tree of something and you want it to be in the same, for my animations, for example, they're quite a complex big thing, and then you keep that root and then do the pushing in everything into this root and then making it. That syntax becomes abstracted mess, ironically, since
That's
it's
fair.
not. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that annoys me. But I think it's just C sharp not really happy with the way Unity want to make their API.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. And yeah, so with that, we can kind of move into our main portion of the show here, where you're going to be showing us. Let me call this modifying dots packages.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Let me see here if I can prepare. So I was a little bit unsure of where in all of this, what parts I should show and what parts is, the TV chef has already prepared. Uh, so it might be a little bit more loading times than maybe perfect for this kind of a situation. But first of all, let's see if my computer crashes or not. If I share my screen, which is a little bit of a.
I thought you fixed that by getting a new computer already.
Well, it's crashed on my new computer too. Maybe it's just cursed. Okay, let's see if I disappear. Entire screen.
Looking good so far.
Okay, it looks like
Okay.
I'm having a good day with my computer. All right, so add to the stage like this.
Boom.
So this is newly created. I only just like loaded in some 2020. I didn't go with the 6,000 version of Unity, just 2022.3 point whatever. And I thought to take it from 0 to 1 sort of. So this is just for those who haven't seen how you modify a package, and there's some quirks to it that you may be not understanding and not knowing, which can sort of set you back a half an hour of debugging until you realize how it fits together. But if we just go into the package manager and then we find the entities, and we just start by installing entities straight
Actually,
up.
real quick, would you be able to change your display
Oh.
scaling to zoom in a little bit there?
Let me
Be much appreciated.
display scaling. Is that enough, maybe?
I think that should be all right. I think that should be fine.
That should be fine.
Yeah.
150. Yeah. So this part, I presume that most people watching this will understand and will be. So we just installed the entities here. So I'm actually surprised that Unity has not made like a quick button to do this, because it doesn't really make sense to me how it's like a little bit backwards and restarty as a annoying. And I'm gonna try something which I think I tried it a few years ago and it didn't work, and I've never done it after. Maybe it
Okay.
works nowadays. So
We'll see.
I'm gonna try to not restart Unity while I do this. Yeah, it sounds like a bit too complex. Yes, ITR. I'm sorry. I have a one of those children's book dots for baby. Oh my god, that's so mean. Sorry.
That would sell one whole copy.
Yes, yes. To somebody's child who would be like biting it in it. Anyway,
Someone who bought it by accident.
yes. So first of all, so now we install this, and let's make sure another thing. So your Unity project is consists of several different packages. So you can include them into your programming environment, so they are loaded. They are under preferences, external tools, and normally none of these boxes are checked, and you only get the code you write. But if you the ones we are looking at right now is the registered packages, so you need to have this checked, and then you press the regenerate project files, and then when you go to open C# project, it's gonna, you can see here it's loading now. I didn't see, but it's usually like 150 assemblies or something, different projects, and that's including all the source code of entities being actually compiled and accessible to look at. So if you look here, you will be able to see Unity. And maybe this is too basic for a lot of people. I just
No, I think
start
it's all
somewhere
good.
and we'll
Yeah.
see what happens. So here in the Solution Explorer, you can see that we have entities, and you can see how many. There's like 1 billion entities. They really split this sucker up into small pieces, huh? And then you can go into this, and then we can like, blob. Oh, this is the source code for how blobs works. A lot of source code. So first of all, this thing is now totally editable. You can just write like this, and you can save it, and it's fine. Not really. So you save it, then you tab back to Unity, and it's reloading, and you tab back, and wait, what?
It's saved.
Wait, what? I am so confused right now. That doesn't make sense. That's...
Okay, you get a warning. Inconsistent access. Oh, it probably just didn't compile.
Yeah, probably. What the hell? Let's see if I can make something else. Yeah, it compiled before. This was the second. This would be very fascinating if they completely changed this, and I've done it in a super annoying way for, let's just like static int. Oh, that's outside of everything. Struct test.
If a restart
whatever.
Unity, it will revert.
Yeah, but it should, do it as soon as you compile. Yeah, but this should not. So okay, I just did this in another project like 2 hours ago, and I had my own, and it was my own dots project, and I changed something to public, and I went in
Yeah.
and recompiled, and like still error, and I went back in and like, oh shit, I didn't move out the folder. Exactly the problem I was trying to illustrate.
There's a new feature that lets you keep the changes for a little, if that's what you mean.
Oh, is that? But I checked this in. Did I? What version? 2023.3.8. This version did not have it.
Huh.
That's super strange. Okay, let me do a sanity check here and see if I change this guy to public here. And then I do this one probably also. Now that I think about it, to make it like happy and being able to compile a little bit more. And then I do like this. So it's compiling. And I should get the exact 2 issues back. Nothing should change. All right, I am insane. That's just the way it is, apparently. What the hell? Why is that?
Well, we'll just say that this is.
Oh, but that one is because I have it in the right project file, project folder. This is because I moved this. So this is, anyway, we restart and we do the thing where it's like actually it breaks. Anyway, if you do any change here, so we can put this back here, and then you turn off Unity, it's gonna just it's just gonna re-download whatever the source code is, because the hash is not the same anymore. He's changed. He has some corruption in his files, and then it's gonna resync, and you're gonna get no change in the project. So, and this is maybe most people already knows about this, but the way it should be done instead. I usually actually do it exactly like this, because sometimes it's really annoying to find the files, because it's just a ton of project packages in this file. I can show, let me do like this. I just realized this is my personal computer. Maybe I have something that I should have on the other screen, just to be sure.
By the way, when you have, I do see, be aware it can greatly slow down debugging, though. I think when you kind of have all the packages available like that.
Yeah, for
Have
sure.
you noticed that?
Sure. Yes. Well, my computer is really fast right now. This one, so it doesn't. But if you have a normal, a little, well, it slows down for sure. That's a big issue. I just grown so accustomed to being able to just go to definition on anything, and I just go there and I see the source code. So having not all the assemblies loaded in is like a nightmare to me nowadays. So that's part of the reason. Anyway, we can go like this. So here we have the source for a custom package test, and if you go in here, if you go in library and then to the package cache, you get all these packages. And it's not that hard to find it. Obviously, it's like it's here, but you can also just do like this, find in file and back out one, and then you find it there. So that's how I usually do it. And how would you look at that? It's taking forever to load in. Wow. Why is it taking so much time? Is there anything broken? And it's using 0% of my CPU, so that doesn't sound like a well-working situation. Let me kill it and see if that makes a difference. Everything is breaking for me.
Live demos.
Personal goal: find a hash collision. I think I need a quantum. Okay, never mind. ITR is already on top of exactly what I'm about to show. I was just trying to show that this will disappear because you don't have it in the right folder, and this now seems like a very unfortunate thing to try to show, because probably most people know about it and it doesn't work like it should anyway. This is like super annoying that you can't. Now. Yeah, it seems like it's working. If this is still there when I go back, it's what? What's reality? I don't know what's going on anymore.
Okay.
Are you as surprised as me?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know why this is still here.
Danny. What's
Have
going
I
on?
package cache? Yes. Okay. Now. Oh, thank you, Rames. Rames. Yeah, that's super weird. Um, but
Does Visual Studio like not automatically refresh your script or something? Like,
we can restart that thing.
Danny. Wait, what happened?
Okay, Danny, listen to this. This blobs is in the normal package cache. I just put this stuff in, and I even restarted Unity, and it doesn't disappear. Why is it not re-downloading my package and overwriting my changes? Very, very fortunate to have a Unity engineer in your chat.
Exactly.
I remember somebody talking about that dots in the forums recently. My consulting work right now has nothing to do with dots, so I'm a little bit,
Danny just says weird.
Okay, so we are all crazy together. That feels good. Well, I can try something since this is a weird thing. I wanted to see what happens if I move this while Unity is running. I never tried that. That's what's the thing that I tried like ages ago and it didn't work. So when you find this thing, you just cut it out, move out 2 steps, and go into the packages. And here you can place any packages. It doesn't like as long as it's thing that works with Unity. It's So does that work? Okay, yeah, they fixed that one. I knew it was just like didn't compile at all when I tried that the first time a few years ago.
So
And I
it
just never.
didn't recompile basically. Like you'd always have to close out of Unity, move the
Yeah.
package to the package folder.
Yeah, I think it actually had a lock on one of the files also. I know I stopped the Visual Studio and everything, but something like you can't move this or something. But they probably. So now it's reasonable that this test struct that I just made should probably still be there. But it would be ironic if it was gone now.
Yeah, if it disappears now.
That would
So
be
Danny
funny.
says, I have no clue. Normally, writer stops you, and if you say no, writer, I know what I'm doing. Unity will go in and say, no, you don't.
Yes. And now this blobs is missing. We can blobs.cs. And my test is still there.
There you go.
So, okay. So if anybody figures that one out, please leave a comment. Why the hell doesn't Unity overwrite my package with the fresh checkout or whatever you want to call it? Anyway, I thought I would go through. That was one of the catches. It's supposed to be the catches that you don't move it from the package cache to the packages folder. And then you change a bunch of stuff, and then you compile. And let's say you have a thing that you change that, you don't get a compilation error either way. You just get a bug when you don't change it. Then you can go absolutely mad because you fix it, and then you recompile, and it compiles because Unity resyncs the package so fast that you don't realize that it just swapped out every code that you just wrote with the fresh code, and then it recompiles, and you try your problem, and you still have the problem because your changes just got lost, but you don't realize that because you see. So remember to move it out of the package cache and into the packages so you don't get crazy because you're changing stuff but nothing is changing. All right, so that's one other thing. Let's see here, where was I? And let me find my notes here. Let me find some way. So the thing that I've had several different things the most things I've had to deal with is internal or private to public. So, for example, if we look at my Git, this is super big. Is this even possible to see what's going on here? So here is my Git for just read instructions, and if we take a look here, for example, now I've sort of removed all the changes just to get all the issues I get when I have non-modified versions of the Unity physics. So you can see here that I have this is the other way around really. This is how it originally is, and I needed entity body index map, and I just changed it to public. So that basically looks like this. .cs, and yeah. So what I had was, here is my code, and I was going through, and this is an idea that I realized when I made my movement that is completely dependent on raycast, and the movement of the units, a little step every frame. I thought that maybe I can sort of have a cache of where I was in the raycasting system. So the next time I try to raycast, I can sort of speed up and see if I hit the same thing faster. So then I needed the entity body index map from Collision World, because that's how you took the entity and you got like, this is where you were last frame, but this is not exposed by Unity. That's not how they intend to do it. They intend you to use raycast with a full raycast through the whole world every time. So this way of like shortcutting, like, oh, last frame I was already in this leaf node in the acceleration structure, as is the almost quad tree, but not really quad tree. So then what I did is I found how they do this in their code. So I'm like, you get this entity body. Let's see here where I set it. Yeah, so hit information, raycast hit, and you get the entity, and then you I looked through the raycast function, and I realized that they have this thing where they save from frame to frame, where you can use it to find your way through the structure faster next time.
Okay.
They do it a bunch of times for other reasons, right? So I'm like, I can grab it, but that was an internal. So you just do it to public, and like this is the part where I said maybe it's slightly underwhelming. Like, this is just the thing that I did the most. I changed something from internal to public. I'm going to go through two examples where I didn't do specifically that, which is more complex, but this is literally like, people should not be afraid of like, I need that, let me have it public, please, thank you. Because like, oh, it's internal. Like, encapsulation is almost like anti-pattern sometimes when you're doing games, because games are inherently just so tied together that you like, sometimes you just need to pull in whatever tools that you have available, and you find stuff in the source code like, I can use this. So just change stuff to public as much as you want, in my opinion, and just use it and see what happens. If it breaks, it breaks. Yeah, I've done way more weird changes than this, than that type of a thing, and nothing has really gone bad for me by doing that. Encapsulation can be the devil. Yes. I think the openness structure of how entities and ECS is by default is like, oh yeah, good highlight. Is very much a breath of fresh air from mono behaviors, where everything is like, oh, I'm a component and I own my stuff, and you need to go through accessors or whatever. So yeah. Anyway, let's continue a little bit. So I can show you. I can do the spiciest change I made.
Ooh.
Yes. So this is a little bit complicated. to understand. I don't really understand if Danny is listening actively and not using us as a good night
Time to
counting
pay
sheep
attention,
thing.
Danny.
Yeah, it's 11 o'clock, 11:30 in Denmark after all, so it's fine if
He's just getting his day started.
okay, fair enough. Anyway, in the see here if I can find. I had pulled up some baking here. Yeah, so you have this. Okay, so here's whatever it is doesn't really matter, but this is stuff that I put into a subscene and it bakes. Do you have some wood to knock on? Yes, this is literally wood. I'm knocking on wood, so all gonna
Real
be
wood
good.
or fake wood?
I think it's really wood, unless I guess our furniture store is really cheap. I don't know really. I haven't realized it's some sort of wood. So this is baking, and you can see here that I'm not even using the latest version of everything. So Unity is already annoyed at me because like I need to specify the entity really. But if we go into this one and we go into the add component, so when you set up a prefab to compile to bake in a subscene in ECS, you add these components, these mono behaviors on different parts, and you make the baker that prepares the mono behaviors data and put all the data onto the associated entity.
Right.
There's apparently a restriction, and I think I talked about this, that you cannot put data on an entity that you're not specifically on baking right now. So you can only put data on the entity you're actually currently baking, which means that if you have a prefab with several different child game objects on and structures, and you have one root baker, right? And you want that root baker to just pull in different references to all sorts of different game objects into the structure, into the hierarchy. Like, oh, this is my arm and this is my barrel position for my gun or whatever, all of this different stuff that could be on like a player prefab, for example. Then in that baking script on the root, you're not allowed to put a component on that barrel entity that gets baked. You're only allowed to put on yourself. So you need to add another baking script to put on that barrel entity specifically to make it add its own barrel component or whatever it's supposed to add. And you can create
Yeah, go ahead.
You can create additional entities, as ITR is pointing out, but that doesn't help. I want my specific entity that I'm having a reference to. I want the entity that actually has the position of the barrel. So adding more entities doesn't solve the issue. So I noticed this because I have several different complex game objects that gets baked into a single thing. I ran into that with
that's basically what you're doing, right? You have an entity with a relationship to another entity. Yeah.
Relationship is the good word to use. Good, thanks. It's surprisingly hard to explain sometimes, but I wish it was. So I halfway made a custom baking script, as ITR already did, until I realized, no, screw this. I'm going to just comment out whatever is dependent, like literally. So if we go here, and you can see here, it's like, are you on the primary? Then everything is good. Then you're like making sure like you don't making a duplicate of the component, whatever. Otherwise, check validity of the entity. Huh. That's it. Like, why? And I'm like, I literally like, I've just returned here. Maybe it works. And I just started and I just played for like 2 minutes and like everything seems to work. All right, moving on.
This is very spicy.
Yes, it's very spicy. I did the same with the blob asset reference thing where you can't have a reference to other blob assets inside of a blob asset or something like that. There was some restriction, and also that I just commented out a for loop that was like verifying it, and it worked. And then like there was a forum post about something along this line, and then Joachim Ante said like, oh yeah, that will break in like a few places in the system, but maybe it won't break for you. But so that out commenting is kind of fair if it doesn't break. So when I saw that was the first time I did some spicy change. I was like, well, I guess I just comment out stuff I don't want, and then we'll see what happens. That was maybe 2020, so quite a while ago. So I have the
battle tested then.
yes. So this is literally what I do. I think I have this thing going on in a few places. Yeah, you can see here also. I just screw you.
Studied that.
Yeah, shake component has already been added. Like, I don't want an error. Just silently, like, yeah, whatever. He already added it. I don't need to add it again. I guess you can lose data because two can put in on
Right.
actual
If you have
final.
like, this value set to 5 and this value set to 10, which ones
Yeah.
it's going to take.
Yeah, but that wasn't the case in this situation. So I knew, I saw it. So, and we have more. Yeah, I don't know how many I have, but I basically just found all of them. I just press play, and then I got the next issue, and I tracked it back, and I just found bad.
Just drop
Do
a
it.
return in there.
Yes, yes, and that way also you don't get the all commenting out or stuff, and you can still like see and get the symbols and go into them and see where they are going. So I think this is a fairly clean way
Although
of doing it.
I'd probably would want to put like a comment above that return, just saying like, I put this here kind of thing.
Yeah,
so-
if I had a colleague who worked with me, I would do that.
Yeah.
I promise you, Johnny, if we work on a project together, I will make sure to comment spicy.
Because I don't want to be like, inspecting some package and then just be like, wait, this return, why is this here? Like,
Yes. Oh, that's
supposed
right.
to be here?
A very, very good, not like life critical, but very, very good thing to do with this is with version handling, because the library folder is obviously ignored. You won't see this code is never checked into Git, but when you move it outside of the library package cache into packages, then it will be committed, and you want to change your spicy changes. Of course, they're spicy, they're good. So a very good tip is to move it out and then commit it completely unchanged, so you can actually have
You get the unchanged version of the package.
Yes. I don't have that in just read instructions, so I had to like rack my brain to find the different pieces. Some of the change, because I've changed Git repository 2 times, so some of them was just like some of them was like just copied from the past, from the last one, and I don't remember where it was. I just had to delete them and let Unity reload the cache new fresh, and then find all the errors. That was how I sort of remembered where I had them.
Fun times.
So, yes. Anyway, so that's a spicy one. I have another one that I think is kind of, and this is the callback to the physics simulation. So somebody said that you can make your own ketchup manager to handle this, whatever you want. But
Can you make a mustard manager too?
Yes, and pickle manager and ketchup. That's like really not any difference in word. Ketchup. No, that's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Like, did I pronounce it bad? No, that was just the same word or the same phonetic deal.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
the ketchup manager. Damn it, no.
You're not going to be able to say it with a straight face now.
No. God damn it. You can provide this manager. That's the way I get around it.
There you go.
By just providing your own. Like, there's a slot. I can find it somewhere where it is. I don't remember. Set up. Blah 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 blah. This one. So this is a private. You set it up somewhere manually. You can do, I think. Yeah. Damn it, it's hard to. Yes. So in this ops, and then this obsolete has been renamed to this one. So rate manager. You can set this, and you can like implement this method should group updates and say like how you want to make it iterate through time, and you can decide that in your own implementation. But from my perspective, it's like, well, I need the exact thing that fixed update is doing. I just don't want it to do this little thing. So that's why I'm editing it and not writing it, because otherwise, if I update Unity, I won't get the new fancy update manager or rate fixed rate thing if they change anything. And I want it, and if it breaks with my changes, I want to see what's the difference. So that's why I'm like, I want to be tied into Unity hard and get errors if my change breaks something. So that's why I didn't do my own. But the thing is, in this fixed, let's see here, fixed rate catch-up manager. This one doesn't have a comment, it doesn't have a summary, and this is because I've added it. So this is probably your problem. I don't think it's adding any extra delta time or anything like that. I think it's just simulating through a bunch of frames in very short time. There's a cap somewhere. I don't remember where it is. I think it has like max catch-up steps.
And also, yeah, speaking of puns, this is one of my favorite puns, is that the irate manager, the rate manager interface. We were talking about this before, right?
No. Tell me.
Do you know the term irate?
No.
The term irate, it means like extremely angry.
Oh, wow. No, I didn't know that actually. Huh. Okay, irate manager. I see why it's capitalized now.
The manager is irate because there is too much ketchup.
Yeah. Oh wow, we're getting deep into it there. I think this is what you're looking at. You're simulating 10 seconds of catching up every frame that you're after your pause until it catches up.
Right,
you cannot skip that. There's you cannot skip it through public functions or variables. So
right, there's no like bool check or something that I could select.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And it's really strange to me. So I added this one, which just lets you set the lapse time, so the lapse time doesn't have to start at 0 when you restart it or anything like that, or start it wherever you stopped it before, so I added that, and then in my local player bootstrap, I just send in the new lapse time, and that's basically it for the equipment and the fixed rate. This is the physics thing. So yeah, that's also like these things, these codes, they are not that much code. You can fairly easily understand everything what's going on here by reading it for like 5-10 minutes, and then you can like fix if you have some specific thing, like I need to catch up, and I need a mustard, and I need a hot dog. Yeah, stuff. That's a change. That's not a spicy one. That's just something missing in the API. I would say.
Cool.
Yeah. Let's see here. I think I have one more thing that I can show off. This was just a thing. Well, this isn't modification really. I can just this. I think this has changed. So this is a pretty good. Also this. You can. I'm having still the fly problem like last time. There's a compound collider create thing where you can put in a bunch of. So you say like you create a list with this collider blob instance, and you say like the rigid transform, they basically were world coordinates, just the position and rotation, if I remember correctly. Yes, just rotation and position. This is basically a fast way the physics engine deals with the position and rotation, generally speaking, because it doesn't care much for the scale. Uh, like that, and you say where it is, what collider is, and what entity it belongs to, and this is so you can track back from physics interaction who you collided with. Even though you build a bunch of different collider into the same compound collider, you can still like hit something with a ray and backtrack to what entity actually owns that collider, even if it's a combined thing.
Nice.
So yeah, so you add them to this list, and then then there's an extension method which takes this list and just spits out already baked compound collider. And this, if I'm not mistaken, is not public. Why? Maybe this one is public, but I am 100% sure there was one part of this combined collision thing that I'm doing here, where this is when all the world is generated, and I just want to optimize the static collision as much as possible and bake it into the least data. I am 100% sure that when I did this, I'm like looking through Unity's code to see what are they doing when you bake a subscene, because that's a little bit what I'm doing. And I found this function, and it was internal. Like, what is the meaning of this? Why do you lock away such a nice utility function? Yeah. So that's also like just a simple, probably internal to external. Internal. I think it looked like this before. That was basically it. And I don't think they use it much either. They're like in some tests, and then like somewhere in the build this one, like build calculate blob calculation somewhere in the build system. They are like, oh, here, Jesus Christ, okay, that's a lot of usage. But this is a job I think that's used when they are combining subscenes in some way. Anyway, so that's the other one. Yeah, the time is running out a little bit. Do you want to hear my thoughts around stateless physics, or should we move on to something else?
Well, actually, real quick, I do just want to point out, I know ITR has mentioned it a couple times about the internal visible or internals visible to. So I think, yeah, there, wait, no.
This one?
It's right here. So yeah, you can basically, it seems like an attribute that you can add to kind of expose potential internal methods.
And this affects the IDE, so you get proper intelligence on that, huh?
I don't know. I mean, I don't have any experience with using it myself, so it'd be something that we'd probably have to experiment around with and see how it works.
That seems. I mean, also
See how it works properly, since it's a C# thing.
That's fascinating. I didn't know that. That's really handy to know, or at least
Writer does.
I hope that Unity's own goddamn product, Visual Studio, handles it too. Then, yeah, I mean, you can do this with the changing source code by doing this thing, and you can also use reflection. You can have the most private goddamn variable in the universe in C#. You can still find it via reflection, and that's a deep rabbit hole to go into. We already been a little bit into reflection, but you can find that. But it's just reflection is super annoying to write for this kind of a problem. So, yeah. But that's a very interesting attribute. I will keep that in mind.
Yeah, we can probably leave the physics stuff for another time. Maybe when we just talk kind of more about the dots physics stuff in general.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This is just kind of a little bit of an interesting discussion that we could have. So is it just as easy to use dots physics as it is to use a rigid body once you get the hang of it? So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things different about dots physics and regular rigid bodies. The kind of primary one that you were hinting at is that dots physics is a stateless physics system. So you don't necessarily have access to things like on trigger enter, on collision enter. Rather, there's more kind of like trigger and collision events that happen where, as long as two objects are, say, overlapping each other, this collision event is essentially going to be true and going to like fire off that collision event, at each step in the fixed update that the dots physics is running under. So it is a little bit different in kind of how you have to handle things. Like if you do want some sort of like on trigger begin event, you kind of have to add in some extra logic of your own to determine, if that collision is actually started on that frame. And so, yeah, there are kind of some things that you have to do along the lines of that. And I'm sure we'll kind of get into that a little bit deeper at a later time, because I know, Tobias, like you were saying, you have some things that you want to share on it. But
Yeah, I would
do you have any
just
kind of just general high level thoughts on this?
yeah, I have a few. So first of all, like I think it's a feature by far to not have the enter exit stay thing by default. But I think and maybe this is changing in later version. But do I have? Okay, I need to just download quickly the physics package. Also, I will continue speaking while it downloads, but I can show where it resides. I would say that generally speaking, Unity physics is harder to deal with, not because Unity physics is worse made, but because physics is traditional Unity physics. For those who doesn't know, is the NVIDIA solution that they have integrated.
PhysX, yeah.
PhysX, yeah, very annoying type of a naming collision. PhysX. They have the two things that the other one. They have time. A long time ago, they integrated this PhysX, so all the early bugs have been rooted out way years ago, and also you have the benefit of managed language. It's integrated through Unity with the managed language, which means that it's fairly easy to keep track of different references to everything that's going on, and just like you can just expose some access to some random collider and you can change the size of it like that, and it's just very accessible and easy to uh, make physics do what you want in ways that are there is not necessarily clean or good practice, but it just works. With with the Unity physics, the dots one, then you have everything is so like it's more rigid in a very specific way, which means like you need to deal with everything you do with it is sort of going through the proper channels and doing it in a more stiff, rigorous way. In a way, I don't know if that makes sense, but it is annoying to deal with in some sense, like changing the size of a sphere collider. Maybe that's changing, maybe there's some helper functions coming on, but the way I do it in just read instructions, when something explodes, that code is like when I wrote it and it worked, and I remember I looked at forums for example code, like, this can't be it, this is so ugly. Like, no, that's how you do it. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, that's like 5 lines of code to change one float, and 5 lines of really ugly code to on top of that. So yeah, I don't think it's super nice, but syntax wise, but it's sure is very performant and very flexible, I would say.
Yeah.
I would just add now when it's done here, you have custom. Have they removed? Oh, they removed the state keeping from samples.
I don't think that was ever available through the package manager. I think it was only on the ECS samples GitHub repository where they have the stateful example.
Right. So for this like exit enter state situation, which is not in it by default,
Right.
If you Google for Unity physics samples, you will find stateful physics,
Right.
where it keeps track of.
Yeah.
Enter.
I think it's
Exit,
just like
stay.
one script that you need to add to your
Yeah,
project, but it's
it's just
still
one.
it's a pretty complex script. There's a lot of things going on in it.
Yeah, I modified it to in a lot of ways when I had it in just read instructions, and then somewhere I read a blog post about we're removing this script from from Unity Physics because it was originally inside of the package, and
Right. Yeah.
because
Long time ago. Yeah.
because we're recommending people not use this type of a stateful unless they need it. And I was like, what? Because I was so used to enter, exit, stay. And
Right.
then I've just sat on my chair for like 10 minutes, like, what is. And I realized, I've been fooled all along. You don't need a state. You can just put it in the state that you need, and you don't need to make a hammer every nail with the
Right.
same hammer.
And there's, other benefits to not having a state, especially when it comes to like multiplayer and if you want to do any kind of simulated rollback, like you don't have to keep track of like that state, like, were these objects colliding on this frame
Yeah.
or yeah.
There's several ways, and you can the state that you need to keep in relationship to you between your gameplay and your physics simulation, that state often naturally resides in the gameplay data easier anyway. In all my situations, it's much more easier than that. I saw a comment, this one, stack 5 boxes on top of each other and they will slide apart. That's partly because it's stateless. It's less stable because it's stateless. It's less fast because it's stateless, but there's several different quirks of it.
Is that kind of because like it doesn't know essentially when something is kind of at rest, I guess, like it
I
can't
think you
like
just need to spend more CPU to figure it out, unless you cache it. And somebody might correct me, and I'm wrong, and it's just they have the wrong algorithm for it. But I believe that it's more, well, maybe the Havoc implementation of it should be the same result, but it's faster. So maybe it's not
Havoc, I
more
believe,
stable.
is stateful though.
Yeah, stateful. Yeah. But I mean, I'm unsure if they give different results. They probably give some different results, but I
I
don't
know
think.
back like early on when Havoc was available to all Unity users, like I was flipping back and forth between the two in a bunch of Unity's sample projects, and all the physics colliders like went in different ways and everything. Like it's
Then
not
it could.
exactly one for one.
Then I would presume that Havoc is more stable and faster, and this is a very fascinating thing that surely it's more fast since it's stateless. No, and that's because RAM is good for things that are hard to calculate. So, like, imagine if you have to recalculate every single value. There's plenty of things that you can cache around to make it faster, but then you also have cache invalidation, where you're like, oh, I do this thing, and then I need to keep track of everywhere I saved the old value that I need to update to the new value, since I have caches lying around. And it's just that's one of the hard parts about computers is cache invalidation, actually. But yeah, I'm fairly certain that Havoc implementation is slightly faster. But if it isn't, there's no reason why statelet should be inherently faster. The other way around, it makes much more sense to me that the more you can cache, the faster it will be. Is simpler, and the trade-off is, as you said, Johnny, like in a multiplayer game or something where you need fast rollbacks and stuff like that, stateless is super useful. Then you don't need to worry about that. I rolled it back 5 frames. What do I need to clear out to make it properly simulate again? And also stateless has the benefit of I mean, rollback is probably the most obvious feature for it. Can you think about something else that you get from stateless?
Probably, but my mind's kind of blanking right now.
Yeah, but I think that's the biggest thing, and I think also that you can spin up simulations pretty quickly. And I'm, for example, probably gonna simulate a full like gun inside of for a project where I simulate a gun in 200 frames per second on a separate world, just in Unity physics, just for a specific reason which I can't talk about. And in that situation, stateless is super useful because that means that I can reset the gun into its natural position anytime I want. I don't need to, wait for the simulation to do anything. I can just blank it every other frame if I want to. Blank it, I mean like reset it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Cool.
That was a lot of details.
No, it's good. It's all good info though.
Yeah.
So yeah, with that, I mean, I guess, is there anything else that you want to say on modifying packages or anything like that, or is that pretty much it?
I think you just gotta not be afraid of doing stuff and see what happens. I mean,
Right.
don't sue me, but just see what happens. It's
That
not
was
a big
actually
deal.
way easier than I thought it was going to be. I didn't realize that you could literally just copy paste the package from that one location, or from the package cache to the packages folder like that. I thought there was like some other steps that you had to do,
No,
and like
yeah. It's just
decompile or compile or something like that. But no, I mean, it like literally is just moving
copying
the files
over.
around.
Yeah. Have you ever like used a package that doesn't come from Unity?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
You just copy it into the package manager.
Exactly,
A
yeah.
package folder. It's
Yeah, no,
identical.
totally makes sense.
And Unity just makes sure when it starts up, it's like, this is all the packages I should have.
Yeah, no, and
Do
I
have
guess I
them?
didn't realize like all the dependencies and everything. Like, it knows that it could also look within the packages folder, and yeah.
But
But it
one
makes
thing
sense.
that Unity, I don't know, really, it's a feature and a bug at the same time. One thing with the package manager that is really annoying is that if you use, like, for example, if you make web pages with Node, with like React or something, the Node-based frameworks, and you use something like NPM, which is a package manager, which does this thing sort of with dependencies. There you can just give it Git addresses and it will just download whatever it finds, and it will, it's completely open. Unity, this register here is sort of locked down. You need to like add, if you want to access other package directories with other packages, you need to go like where is it, package manager? No, somewhere here there's a where you can like add to like, oh,
Right, the
I'm
external
trusting this
repository or whatever.
external,
Yeah.
and that's for me. I've used enough in npm packaging to know that sort of works. So I'm like, Unity, you don't have to be that safe. We can, import unsafe spicy packages into our Unity. It's fine. You don't have to restrict us. So that's annoying. Otherwise, it works very well as a package manager.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah, I think that's all for me.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for the overview on that. Really do appreciate that. So yeah, now we can kind of get into the point of the show where we start to close things out. Do you have any dynamic allocation prepared for us for some fun things to share with the community?
No, I actually did not remember to do that. You can share yours, and
Yeah.
I can just take a quick look at something that I've looked at.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, I wanted to go ahead and share a project by a good friend of the channel here, who goes by the name of TJ, who recently released his game Castles on Clouds rather. And I can go ahead and play the trailer here. And but yeah, it's kind of like a tower defense roguelike type game. It's available for just a couple dollars right now. And he's done a bunch of devlogs and things like this, where he's been showcasing his progress throughout developing this game. And yeah, I don't believe, I'm pretty sure he's not using any type of dot stuff for it, even though there are some things where there's quite a bit of enemies and stuff like that going on. But yeah, I know at one point he was saying that he was interested in maybe investigating some of that, but I don't know if any of that stuff actually made it into the final project. But yeah, go check out that, and then I should probably pull up the link to TJ's channel as well. See if I can find this quickly. It's one of those things when you just type in like, TJ in the search bar, it doesn't give you the exact results that you're looking for, unfortunately. Wait, actually, I know how I can get to it. Right here. TJ Game Dev. There we go. Shout out to TJ Game Dev. But yeah, go check out Castles on Clouds if you do want to. So Tobias, what you got for us?
I got what's the polar opposite of nice optimized game code?
Really unoptimized game code.
Yes. Did you see that somebody trained an AI to replicate Doom?
No.
Yeah. I can maybe, let's see here, show my screen. I haven't particularly looked at this
Good answer, Danny.
one. I don't know who this is really, but apparently they have like this thing. They have like trained an AI to actually just spit out Doom as the game straight up.
Yeah. The UI looks atrocious, but
yeah. This is maybe not.
It's very like replicable. It resembles like the actual Doom UI, but obviously
yeah, and
computer generated.
I saw some. I don't know if you have heard the comment by Nvidia's CEO Jensen. I don't know whatever he's called exactly. He had like a year ago or something said like, nowadays I wouldn't tell my kids to learn programming because they won't need it because we'll have AI. And now that makes me furious because then like, then we're gonna get somebody training a machine to run a super old a game that's so unoptimized way of playing the game that you won't even believe. Like you need a goddamn supercomputer to run one of these models, and then you need to. It's like I think the exercise of training a model to be able to do something complex as simulating a whole game engine, even though it's a game engine that's 25 years old. I think this exercise is super fascinating and like go for it. But anybody who says like, oh yeah, but this is the future of game development, I'm like, you're out of your mind. So yeah, I don't know. I just linked the one I found with a lot of views. I don't know if that's a good YouTube video of it. I saw it on some other place, but I couldn't find the original one I looked at. So yeah.
That reminds me, I was trying to find it. I think there was like a tweet by the Primeagen at some point, like saying something about like AI generating mid code and like the reason why people find it useful is because they write bad code or something. I don't remember exactly what it was.
I'm agreeing so much actually, and I use ChatGPT for coding all the time, but I use it for like, I have this thing and it's just intricate API stuff.
Right. It's a lot easier to do an API lookup that way than Google, because Google is basically unusable right now for searching technical documentation.
Yeah. And you get you can get your customized sample code. That's basically like, just how did I get the asset from the thing again? And like, this is how.
Yeah.
And there's like 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 different API calls involved in it, and like none of them are hard, but I don't remember them. No fusion generated for. Okay, now it's all degenerated into. Talking about fusion generation now, huh? Diffusion. I can't read. Not fusion.
Nuclear fusion.
Yeah. Doom can run on a toaster, and with this interactive tech, barely on RTX. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Did you ever do like iPod Linux back in the day, where you like hacked an iPod to like run Linux?
I've never owned an Apple product in my life.
None at all.
None. Well, yes, I own a used MacBook from 2012 for my DJing.
Nice.
Otherwise, I never owned a single Mac thing in my life.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Well, but tell me, what was the thing?
Yeah, no, like back in like the original like first generation iPod Nano that had, you know, like the little wheel thing that you'd spin
Yeah.
and it had like an actual like hard drive inside of it. Like this was before like flash memory was like, you know, super common like it is now. But you could hack it to run like a version of Linux, because the original iPod Nano, it wouldn't like play any videos or anything. Like you could basically just play music, but you could also like have pictures. But yeah, I was able to load Linux onto this, and you could play videos, and you could also play games. So there was like, you know, simple things like Asteroid. But there was a Doom port to the iPod Nano.
Of course, yes.
It was so
Perfect.
weird. You like literally like push different pieces like on the touch wheel without like clicking it in, and
Yeah.
then you would like move in the different directions. It was it was really interesting. It wasn't
Yes.
good, but it was funny that it still kind of worked.
Didn't somebody make a port that played on the display of a birth control? Yes, somebody, you know, one of those things you pee on.
Okay.
You pee on. Somebody who want to know if they're pregnant or not.
What are you trying to say?
Yes. Let me see here. Doom. Birth tester. What the hell do you even birth? Yeah, here we go.
Pregnancy.
Whatever.
Pregnancy
This programmer
test.
figured out how to play Doom on a pregnancy test. Yeah, I'm showing my screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good.
So
That's so good. Babe, are we pregnant? I don't know, but I just got a high score.
yes. Exactly. This is kind of old news. I remember this is like 4 years ago. But yeah, I guess I mean, it's like crazy that something that Carmack sat for like, you know, a year trying to make it work, we now may run on ships that are made to be disposable.
Yeah, got to play through Doom to get the results. That's almost like the Jonathan Blow's compile time programming, where you could like play a game and it would only continue compiling if you got like a certain high score in the game.
It should be like we test run your code, and if it doesn't good enough, we won't compile the rest of it. Like gate holding your whole your Fed ready product unless you make it good enough.
That'd be kind of nice.
Yes.
I think some programs definitely need that.
Yes. Higher FPS than the AI tool too. Yes, that's my point. Yes. Okay, indeed. All right. Yeah, that was my
Cool. Feel free to post the link of that video, the Doom video, the AI Doom video.
Oh, the AI Doom video. Yeah, sure. I just find some.
Put it in the StreamYard chat so it posts on my account, because I don't know if it'll let you post a link or not.
Yeah,
ITR. I don't think your link went through. I saw something, but yeah.
Popularmechanics.com. Apparently, I found it first Google result.
Well, send the AI video as well. That one.
But that I already didn't.
Oh, you did?
No. I think maybe I actually didn't share it.
Oh yeah, you did.
Yes, I did.
I missed it.
No worries. Yeah. All right.
Cool. Well, with that, yeah, we can go ahead and kind of finish wrapping things up here. So do just real quickly want to remind you all that you can support us over on Patreon at patreon.com/turbomakegames, as well as through YouTube memberships, just with the little join button down below this video. They both give you access to the same perks and everything like that. So yeah, like I mentioned, I put up a video just talking about kind of my general thoughts on VR. There's going to be a Q&A post going up probably early next week, I would assume, and also doing some other cool, fun behind-the-scenes stuff. And yeah, just real quickly want to give a shout-out to our Patreon supporters at the CPU Register tier, which is the highest tier. So thank you very much to eCool and Hakan for your support. We really do appreciate it over there. And yeah, with that, thank you very much for joining us for episode 31 of the Hot Path Show. We'll be back next week for episode 32, a big 2 to the 5th celebration. So yeah, maybe we'll come up with something exciting for that. Yeah. So anyways, with that, Tobias, any parting words for us here today? Words of wisdom? Are we living in a simulation?
Do spicy stuff.
Do spicy stuff. I like it. That's a great one. Well, yeah. Have a great weekend, everybody. And if you're an American, happy Labor Day weekend. Enjoy your extra day off. So yeah, we'll see you next week. Later.
Peace.